Hello, and welcome back to the training, the grant writing training brought to you by Grant Database. This is Module 5, telling your story with data and evidence, and Lesson 2, types of data to use. In the last lesson, we discovered that evidence is what separates vague ideas from fundable proposals. But here's the big lesson. What kind of evidence should you actually use? Because not all data is equal. Some data make your proposal shine, while some other data make it look weak or irrelevant. Today, we are going to unpack the main types of data that funders love to see and how you can use them smartly. So the first type of data we are going to be looking at is the quantitative data. That is the numbers, quantitative data, the numbers. Now, these are the hard statistics, percentages, and figures that show the scale of a problem or the impact of a solution. Now, quantitative data, let me take it again. They are the hard statistics, percentage, or figures that show the scale of a problem or impact of a solution. Now, an example could be, according to the World Bank, 4 out of 10 Nigerians live below the poverty line. And another example could be, World Health Organization reports that malaria caused 608,000 deaths in 2022, mostly in Africa. Now, why does quantitative data works? It works because numbers create urgency. They show the problem is measurable and the problem is real. Now, but be cautious. Don't overload your proposal with too many statistics. Pick the most useful ones while you are researching the numbers. It is very important. And also be cautious to not use an outdated statistics or a wrong statistics. Now, all of this data that is here, that according to the World Bank, 4 out of 10 Nigerians live in below the poverty line. All of these data are real data. So you don't just conjure data from the thin air to put into your proposal because it's going to be real and then they are going to declare that those things are not true. So the second type of data is the qualitative data. That is the story. Now, this is the human side of data. The stories, interviews, testimonies, and lived experience. Look at this amazing example here. Instead of just saying 50% of girls drop out of secondary school, you could add Amina. Now, Amina is a person, a 14-year-old from Kano State, dreams of being a nurse but had to leave school to help her family farm. This is a story part of data, right? And why does this one work? It works because funders themselves are human beings like yourself. Stories connect emotionally, while numbers back it up logically. Now, the best practice here with qualitative data is to pair a story with the statistics for a maximum impact. So pairing the two with that. If you add it like Amina, a 14-year-old from Kano, dreams of being a nurse, but had to leave school to help her family farm, and then a full stop. Then you could just add that with Amina, there are about 50% of girls that drop out of secondary school, mostly in that place. So it shows that the qualitative data paired with quantitative data give a very emotional and logical reasons. So the pairing give maximum impact. Now the third type of data is the secondary data. These are existing research. Now, this is the data you pull from trusted reports, surveys, and research organizations. Sources include the Sources include the UN, United Nations agencies like the UNICEF, UNDP, or WHO, the World Health Organization. Another one is sources could include government ministries of Bureau of Statistics. For example, if a government is giving a statistics, so it shows that they actually have the data for that. Another source could include academic research and policy briefs. Another one could also include NGOs published reports. Now, example in this could be like UNESCO 2023 report shows that sub-Saharan Africa accounts for more than half of the world's out-of-school children. So that means that you are quoting from an already existing research that is called secondary data. So how does secondary data works? It shows that you have done your homework and you are standing on credible ground. You are quoting UNESCO, you are quoting UNICEF, you are quoting a university, you are quoting the maybe federal government or state government. So it shows that you have a credible ground to stand on. Now, the fourth type of data is the primary data. So, this primary data, aka also known as what you gathered yourself, this is the data you collect yourself from surveys, interviews, pilot projects, or focus group. Now, example could be like in our baseline survey of 120 women farmers in Ogun State, 72% reported post-harvest losses at least 30%. So that means that you actually went to Ogun State and you actually have 120 women to give a questionnaire for a survey, and from that survey you actually have this record. So why does primary data works? Funders love when you bring fresh insight from your community. It proves you are close to the ground. Now, a tip here is that even a small sample, 50 people surveyed, can be powerful if it is clear and relevant to what you are working on. So, the fifth type of data is the comparative data. Comparative data, aka showing change. Now, this is the data that compares before and after, or here and there, something that compares two things. Now, example here is in Kenya, farmers using mobile weather apps increase yields by 20% compared to those without it. So that means that you are showing that the use of mobile weather app has an impact in yields compared to those that does not even use it at all. Another example is before our pilot, only 10% of women in the village had bank accounts. 6 months later, that number rose to 60%. So that shows that you are showing before and after of here and there. So why does it work? Funders love results. Comparative data shows not just a problem, but also progress and potential. Yes, also progress and potential. So let's look at some common mistakes that you can make with data. Number one is using irrelevant data. Irrelevant data. Don't throw a global statistic if your project is local. That is irrelevant. If you are working on a local project of whatever that could be, don't use a global statistics. So use a local statistic. If your project is in Lagos, global averages may feel disconnected. Yes. Another common mistake is in outdated numbers. We've been saying this again and again. Now, always check the year. If your data is older than 5 years, funders may question its accuracy. We can be in 2025 and you are putting a data from 2001. It can just be, you have to at least 5 years, 5 years or within that period, right? So another one is data without context. Saying 200,000 people are affected is meaningless unless you explain how and why it matters to your project. Yes, unless you explain how and why. So now let's look at some examples. I'm going to show you how organizations mix types of data. We have the first one is the gay effect. So this is an NGO focused on gays empowerment. So they use stats like one in three. Oops. Okay, they use stats like one in three gays in developing countries marries before 18. That is a quantitative and secondary data. So they compare and also they pull the data on trusted, on trusted places. Then they add stories of individual girls who overcame early marriage. That is qualitative data. So one can be able to mix all of these type of data. Another example is 1 acre fund. This is an agriculture social enterprise. So they collect primary data from their own farmers to show yield increases. Then they compare it to national averages, that is comparative data. So another example here is the water aid. So the water aid use global UN statistics to highlight the problem of water scarcity, but they also publish case studies of communities they work in, blending numbers with human stories. So let's look at some activity for you in this lesson. So here is your task for this lesson. Pick one problem your project want to solve. Now, you'll find at least two different types of data to describe it. For example, you could use quantitative data that, according to World Health Organization, 70% of rural clinics lack electricity, or qualitative data that during our visit to a village clinic in Ondo, the nurse explained how they deliver babies by torchlight at night. So now you're going to pick one problem. That is, let me take the activity once again. You're going to pick one problem your project want to solve and find at least two type of data to describe the problem, and leave it in the comments or in the assignment group. So you find data, at least two type of data to complement it. So then you're going to put them together and you got a powerful problem statement. You put it together and get a powerful problem statement. So in closing, let me recap. Use numbers to create urgency. What we are saying is that you should use numbers to create urgency, and use stories to create empathy. Use research to build credibility. Use your own data to show you are connected to the ground, and use comparisons to prove your solution works. When you combine this, you don't just describe a problem, you make founders feel it, see it, and believe you can solve it. I'm Oluwole Omojofodun, and in the next lesson, we are going to take this even further. We will explain how to combine storytelling and statistics in a way that founders cannot resist. See you in lesson 3. Thank you.